I have to turn this on, right? I'm going to give it a minute.
As soon as she finishes.
It's you. So I'm going to introduce her, and she's going to introduce guests.
And then I'm going to grab that mic.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Laurie Lucas, and I'm the director of the Center of Legal Studies and Business Ethics in the Spears School of Business. And I'd like to welcome all of you to this year's Conversations on Ethical Leadership event. I'm pleased to see so many of you came out in the rain, so that's great. And I'm also quite pleased to that this year's conversation is being held in conjunction with OSU Center for Sovereign Nations as part of their Sovereignty Speaks Leadership series. So this conversation series is meant to provide Spears students with the opportunity to engage in leaders in the state of Oklahoma about what leadership means to them. And so this fits really well with the Center for Sovereign Nations mission to provide opportunities for students to learn from leaders in their tribal governments. And so I'd really like to thank Elizabeth Payne and Sky Rogers and the rest of the team at the Center for Sovereign Nations for agreeing to co-host this event with us and helping us extend this conversation across the campus to all OSU students. Of course, this event could not be possible without the help of many people at OSU, and I'd like to thank all of them for their efforts. And I'd especially like to thank the Friends of the Center for Legal Studies and Business Ethics for their generous financial support. Their support and encouragement help make this event possible. So today's event is interactive. I'll see if I can manage this. And you're all invited to text questions to the number on the screen that you might have for the panel. And these are going to be forwarded to Dr. Mark Tower. He's the Spears School Assistant Dean of Innovative Education and Growth, and I'm very pleased that Dean Tower agreed to moderate today's event. Since he took this position in 2021, I've watched him work tirelessly to deepen the ties that the Spears School has with our external constituents, and I think he brings a real spirited entrepreneurial effort to that, and he's part of what's going to make OSU a premier land-grant institution in the United States. So he's going to lead the conversation, but to get the conversation started, we also solicited some questions from student leaders in the Center for Sovereign Nations, the Student Center for the Public Trust, and from students in ethics courses that are led by Professors Rachel Cox and Jennifer Kuntz. And I'd like to thank all of you for that effort. I'd also like to announce, if you'll just allow me this point of personal privilege, that Professors Cox and Kuntz are our center's inaugural business ethics teaching fellows, and we're so pleased that they accepted that charge. In addition to their support for the center, they also sponsor the student CPT group at Spears. And as part of that effort, they've asked me to recognize the group's outgoing and incoming slate of officers and to announce that this year's Be a Difference Award, Student Award recipient is Brady Chan-Pong, and the Faculty Award recipient is Josh Taylor. And congratulations to both of you. We invite you guys to stay after the event so you can receive those awards and take some photos. I think it's clear that the students at the Center for Sovereign Nations and the Spears School of Business reflect what is best about OSU. And I think it's fitting then that you're now going to have the opportunity to engage with today's guests as they reflect the diversity and the scope of the cultural and economic contributions that the tribes have made, not only for the benefit of their own communities, but for the state of Oklahoma. To introduce these esteemed leaders, I want to welcome my friend and colleague, Elizabeth Payne, the founding director of the Center for Sovereign Nations.
Good afternoon. We're all a little bit nervous about these stairs, so if I offer to help anybody down, it's just because I want to avoid the fall. Thank you for being with us today. This is a wonderful day. Anybody get wet on the way over? Just a little bit? Okay. Well, we're all together now, and this is going to be meaningful. Let me begin with introductions. We'll start with Shella Bolin. Shella is the Vice President of Corporate Strategy at Cherokee Nation Businesses. Cherokee Nation Businesses is Cherokee Nation's governmental revenue entity that owns companies in gaming, hospitality, and federal contracting, as well as cultural and economic development entities. Bolin has more than 27 years of corporate business experience, ranging from operations to finance, marketing, strategy, and she earned a BS in Industrial Engineering and Management from OSU. So, welcome home, Ms. Bolin. Next, I'll introduce Robin Elliott. Robin Elliott serves as the Cabinet Secretary of the Chickasaw Nation Department of Communications and Community Development. Before being promoted to her current position, she served as Administrator of the Department of Communications and Director of Public Affairs for the Chickasaw Nation. She led design of important Chickasaw Nation venues, and she served as Executive Producer for 3 feature films. She received her bachelor's degree in business administration from East Central University and her MBA from Oklahoma State University. Go Pokes. Welcome, Robin. And finally, Teresa Jackson. Teresa Jackson serves as Senior Executive Officer of Choctaw Nation Tribal Services, where she oversees all tribal services, including health, housing, education, culture, outreach, and special services. That's around 144 programs and 3,200 employees who serve under her direction. She began working for Choctaw Nation in the fall of 1999, serving as Comptroller for Choctaw Nation Health. She went on to become Hospital Administrator, SEO of Health Services, and she currently serves as SEO of Tribal Services. She's also the proud parent of Blake Jackson, who was 2012 Outstanding Senior in the OSU College of Ag Sciences and Natural Resources. So welcome home, and again, thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. We really appreciate it, and thank you for giving up your time to be here. This is a pleasure to have you here. I want to start with a maybe simple question, but as you look out at the students in the audience and you think about your early career self, looking back today, what advice would you give that person? Shella, would you start that one? That's a good question.
Can you all hear me? Good afternoon. I think the biggest question or answer or advice I would give is, what does good look like? I think we all want to do a good job. We have high expectations of ourselves, and a fair question to ask is, what does good look like in my new role, so that you have a clear understanding. Listen, and listen, kind of like real estate. It's all about location. It's all about listening as well. Take notes, ask questions, and ask the right questions. And that's the importance of taking notes to remember. You don't want to come back asking the same questions over and over. Ask for feedback, positive and good, and always be a learner. I know that sounds a lot like school, but the learning process continues. So I think being a learner and always looking for growth opportunities is some of the best advice I can share today.
Robin?
I would echo much of what was just said and shared. I think one thing that is very important is to have a lot of grace with yourself. when we first begin our careers. I was very hard on myself. I thought I should know a lot that I really shouldn't have known. And I learned early on to ask a lot of questions, to watch and observe. I think you can learn a lot from the people who are already in the organization. I think learning to adapt to the degree possible yourself as opposed to wanting the organization to adapt to you is extremely important. Asking for more work is very important, depending on what your long-term goals are. Asking for opportunities to demonstrate that you're there to learn, that you're excited to be part of the company or organization. That was something that was very beneficial to me early on, is that I was always one to quickly volunteer for extra activities where I thought I could make a relationship with someone in a higher position, where I thought that I could learn something new, because I still was trying to navigate what I wanted to be and where I wanted to grow with the company. So pretty much any opportunity where I got to say, hey, I will, that's what I did. And it was very beneficial. And it also demonstrated to the leadership at the time that I was committed and that I wanted to be there and that they could count on me. So that's something I would encourage very much, is to be a team player. But also, if you're interested in the long term and you want to grow in leadership, then to demonstrate that you're interested and ask for those opportunities, because more than likely when you find someone who's willing to step out and say, me please, then you're going to get a lot of extra chances and an opportunity to show what you can do. So that was one of the things that was most beneficial to me in my career. And then also try to find someone that you can trust to help you, to give you some feedback, to be a mentor, so to speak. I would also encourage that you take a little time as you step out there in your organization to find who that person is. Practically speaking, there are people who want what's best for you and who want to invest in you, and then there are those that may not have your future self as one of their priorities. So take some time to get to know people, but it was very important to find people that were willing to invest in me, even if it was just answering a simple question when I wasn't sure how to do something. So those would be a few things.
Teresa?
So once you finish school, don't think that you're finished learning, because that is one thing you will continue to learn with any job, any organization that you go to. And you are going to make a mistake. Do not worry about that. Doesn't mean you failed. It's just another opportunity to learn what you've learned from your mistake and to move forward. Be sure to learn about the organization that you're going to understand what their priorities, their goals are, to make sure that that's a good fit for you. Just don't go in and seeking a job and take employment just because it's the first job that was offered to you. Make sure that your goals, your priorities align with the organization that you're going to, and you'll be a success. But again, just make sure that you don't feel that you're a failure because you have made a mistake. You can only grow from those mistakes.
Is there one person that influenced your leadership path that you can think of, and how did that impact your trajectory or your path? That could probably be either positive or negative.
In my current role, I would say our chief is the one that really influenced me. He started out right after college and working for the Choctaw Nation. He was over our housing program and then became over our health program, and he is the one that hired me for the role that I am. And just to sit back and watch him, watch his aspirations, his goals, and how he conducts himself in meetings, and just what he wants best for our tribal members. That was just a big role model for me.
I would say also Governor Anatubby. He's the only, since I graduated with my bachelor's, he's the only person that I've ever worked directly for, which I can look back on and see what a privilege and an honor that has been. And I've learned much about leadership, about kindness, about the importance of why we're there. And so I would say he has definitely been the biggest influence on my leadership. So.
Thank you.
I would definitely, there's a lot of individuals who have been an influence in my career, so I wouldn't pinpoint just one. Definitely our current chief, our Chief Hoskins, Chief Baker, our Deputy Chief Warner, as well as our CEO, Chuck Garrett. But I think its importance is about networking. Not one single person can probably fulfill all your needs or help you learn what your interests may be. So I think the big thing is I reach back to people, that I've gone to high school with, that I see may be in a path or have a connection that could be important to me or answer questions for me from college, from past jobs with colleagues. So I think the big thing is build a network. Don't try to burn bridges, understand the importance of your reputation so that you can, when you need to call on someone or you run into someone, whether that's for a job, potential job opportunity, you want to have that reputation and have a good network where people will recommend you, or you can go to them and ask questions as well. So I think build a good network and nourish that network as well.
Thank you, Shell. Has there been an ethical dilemma or issue you faced that shaped or challenged you as a leader that you'd share with us?
Sure. There has been, I would say, a lot over the years to varying degrees as far as ethical dilemmas. So learn to do what's right, and don't risk your reputation or the company's reputation by ignoring the company policies or any laws. In the end, you want to maintain your professional reputation, and many of those issues can be very serious and damage your reputation and your career possibly. So, remember those things. Understand what your company policies are, understand what your values are, and also, what the laws are, because you will encounter something, some sort of ethical dilemma over your career. So.
Anybody else?
But don't go looking to be the police either.
Unless you're in communications. So I would echo all of that. That was much of what I thought as far as laws and ethical. I think one thing to know is that there are going to be lots of little situations over time, and it's not always as clear as what's right and what's wrong. So there are going to be lots of answers that can be right. And so one thing that I've used as my guiding principle, at least at work, is, well, first of all, if there's a policy or a law that governs it, that handles it. Just don't veer from, don't break the law, don't avoid your policies. They're there to protect you. They're there to provide a framework for why your organization does things that they do. But then within those, there could be a lot of right decisions. What I have tried to do is make decisions that are not necessarily personally beneficial, because you'll find things that, well, if I make this choice, it's really going to benefit me more, but it may not be the best decision for the group. It doesn't mean it's wrong, but is it the best decision? So some of that comes back to your personal moral character and the culture of your organization. And so for me, I've always tried to make decisions on what's in the best interest of the Chickasaw people or the Chickasaw Nation. Even if there might be something that would be just as okay, but maybe has a different outcome that wouldn't be as beneficial in the long run. So you'll find there are going to be lots of times that you have several right options. And so it's going to come down to kind of some of your personal ethic. And I would encourage as much as you can form that by your policies, procedures, your organizational culture, honesty, integrity. Those are really going to help you in the long run.
I definitely agree with all of that. Your policies, the procedures are going to be your basically your saving grace. And don't be afraid to ask for assistance. If you're not sure, I've been in this role I've been with Choctaw Nation for almost 23 years, and I'm still reaching out to legal almost on a weekly basis to say, this is what I want to do. Is this right? Does this sound right? Am I going down the right path? So be sure to get other people involved. If you're not sure of the direction that you're going, ask someone else.
Thank you. We're gonna jump off the track here for a second. What does tribal sovereignty mean to you personally? And how does that affect your professional life, or does it? Nothing like an easy question to start.
That wasn't on the list. I think tribal sovereignty for the Choctaw Nation is a group that I could speak for, is basically being able to show who we are, where we've come from, and to protect that for the future.
Yes, I would echo that. It's the ability to self-govern, to make decisions about your own future and your own path, and to do things that are best for our people and the communities around us. I mean, we don't live in a vacuum. We're all part of each other. So we try to make decisions that are best for our people, but also for the state that we live in and the community. But I think that's what sovereignty means, is just having that ability and that right to make those decisions.
Yes, and I echo that as well. I think it's building a sustainable nation within our reservation and for our citizens who also don't live within the reservation, but, globally. So that's what I think sovereignty means.
All right, thank you. Are there general leadership principles you use when you're navigating tough times or difficult situations?
I try to keep it simple and lead with integrity and the expectation of excellence in all situations. I mean, treat each other as you want to be treated or better. Put your best efforts forward, and then you can expect the same of others. That doesn't mean you'll always receive the best, but many learn over time. And then if they don't, then maybe it's not the right fit for the organization or your role. Also, stay in motion. We learned during the pause during COVID, and a lot has changed, but most successful businesses, they stayed in motion despite the changes from COVID. So.
Anybody else?
I would definitely say treat everyone with respect and kindness is the first opportunity. Every single person in your organization is frankly just as important as the others. One lesson that we try to teach is that the members of our maintenance and housekeeping and facilities team are just as critical or more critical than myself and many others, because they have an important role. And so one thing that I like to emphasize with my team is just the value of every person who's part of making our organization work, no matter the role or the level at which they operate. I also, for me in leadership, it's very important to me to try to help those who are coming up through our ranks, so to speak, or who have a desire to move ahead, to do their best. And so mentorship is really important as far as what I try to work into my leadership and with my team. And then we just try to do our best every day. Sometimes my team works so hard that I have to say, that'll work for today. So, because perfection is something that's very important, but not always sustainable. So from a leadership, you'll find yourself oftentimes just trying to coach your team and encourage and to be their best selves, and respect is also important. I try to respect their time. And I know that they're going to always go above and beyond at the end of the day because of the relationships that we've built and the values that we have. And we also operate from our core values. We have a very strong list of core values that include perseverance and integrity and hard work. And we try to make sure that those are kind of our cornerstone as we're making decisions. So.
I think, too, is to stand by your word. If you say you have an open door policy, you have an open door policy for everyone at every time. To make sure that everyone knows that you treat them fairly. If you treat the person taking out the trash, that's cooking your meals in the cafeteria, the same as you treat the tribal members that come in for us, or chief, assistant chief, or our tribal council members. And don't forget that you were in their role at one time as far as individuals that weren't in a leadership role. And so, volunteer as much as possible. When we have our annual Labor Day festivities, and I park cars. That's my role out there, is I stand in the parking lot and I help park cars.
That's great, thank you. This is kind of a two-part question. What does your day-to-day job look like? And as part of that, how do you motivate yourself every day? You've all mentioned to do your best at work. How do you keep yourself motivated to do that? Robin, you can start this one.
Okay. Well, I've recently learned that motivation is not always possible. So I think sometimes you just have to build those muscles of discipline. So not every day I probably shouldn't say this. I'm not motivated every day. But I have an integrity that I'm committed to the task, and I'm committed to the goals of our organization, and I feel a duty to do my best with the people that are waiting on me to make a decision so that they can go home to their families on time. So a lot of it is just kind of building those muscles of self-discipline when, frankly, there are going to be lots of times in life that you're not going to be. Now, one thing that helps tremendously is to be part of an organization that you feel very motivated by. And I am not only am I Chickasaw, so I feel committed personally, but I'm very thankful and appreciative that I can be motivated very positively 99% of the time, that we are making a real difference in the lives of the people that we serve, but also the communities. I've always lived in Oklahoma, and I've seen the changes over the years that have occurred because of the tribes and because of our partnerships. And I think all of us want our state to flourish and grow and provide opportunities for everyone. So that is a motivation for me. But in just the day-to-day, what my day looks like is a lot of meetings. At this stage in my position, a lot of it is encouraging team members, helping them accomplish their goals, reaching some of our responsibilities. I have a lot of, there's a fun side of my job in that I do get to produce documentaries and feature films, and so, and then also help build honor gardens in the Artesian Hotel, and so there's a lot of different factors, and so that's kind of fun, honestly. Everything is a little different every day, and so that's helpful. So there's a lot of meetings, there's a lot of decision making, there's just a lot of questions. Hey, did we run this past legal? Did we run this past our cultural team? Should we say this like this? What do you think if we did this? So a lot of it's just motivating our team to provide their best efforts and help them understand and train them as they're moving into the future.
So for me, as far as motivation, I live an hour and 45 minutes from where I work. So I have a lot of time in the morning to ramp up. I spend a lot of time on the phone before and after work. And so as I'm driving down the road, I'm thinking, what does my calendar look like today? Is it filled with meetings? How am I going to make a difference? What am I going to do? And as Chief has always said for our tribal members, we are here to provide not a handout, but a hand up. And so what am I going to do within the services that we have? How is that going to help our tribal members at the end of the day? How is that going to help our community? How is that going to help our state? What can we do that's going to make a difference? And then I start my phone calls. And I always tell the two people that report directly to me, when I call you at 7 in the morning and say, hi, I've been thinking, you should say, stop right there. It's not 8 o'clock yet. And I said we should be able to sit back and have family time and have time to get ready, but to be able to think about the day. And then on my way home, reflect about what I've done and how can I make it better for the next day. As far as my day-to-day, it's filled with meetings. It's just like everyone else's. It's filled with meetings, and just to sit back and think of what programs we have, how we can make it better, how everything will work better for us.
Thank you.
I think the motivation is, when you work for a tribe, I'm on the revenue side, but, we pay a dividend to our shareholder to help sustain our government and the language and the culture and the health and wellness of the citizens. So that's very motivating. It is work at the end of the day, and I mean, everyone's human, so I think there is that balance of, giving back and making time for yourself. So whether that's exercise or whatever your hobby may be, or, whatever TV shows or you may enjoy, what other organizations you enjoy, you make time for that so you can bring your best self, and provide your best work as well. My day-to-day is focused on the higher level growth strategy, so looking at how our businesses grow over the long term as our needs grow to support the needs of the nation and support the businesses and the jobs we provide. So I look at what are our businesses doing today, where are opportunities for us to possibly grow, and how will we get there is what my vision is each day.
So, Shelley, you kind of segued us into the next question. All three of you have very responsible jobs, big jobs. You have stress. How do you manage your work-life balance and deal with stress?
For me, that's starting most of my days off with some type of exercise. That's my time, even though it may just be an hour or something. It's really important, I think, to have a time not to think really about anything, to get the day started. So that's, my balance, and, figuring out when family comes into play to make sure you have time for that, as well as work. So it's a balance, as you say. I think it can look different for everyone. So it's how you feel at the end of the day. There will be stressful times, whether that's work, whether that's personal. That's just life, even as you're in school today. You have, if you have finals, whatever, brings stress your way, I think you learn how to manage that, and you all are seeing it through, I think it's at most of the juniors and seniors. So, you're managing through your day-to-day, you're balancing your time with your friends and family. So I think it's different for everyone, but you definitely have to find that what works for you.
Sure. The role that I'm in is for member services, and so not only is it 8 to 4:30, it's 24/7. And even if you are at a basketball game, softball game, stock show, whatever you are there for your children, I still have tribal members that will come up to me, can you help me with this program? Can you help me with this? And I want to be able to help, but I want them to also recognize this is my family time, and family is very, very important to me. So I always hand them my card to say, look, I want to be able to help you. Will you call me at your convenience, and we could sit down where I will be able to go over this and give you one-on-one time, so they understand they are important, but my family's important too.
I think it's easier to, we're all in a place in our careers at this point where I don't want to speak for the other ladies, but I would say it's a little easier now to maintain that balance because of the nature of our positions. Early on in my career, just truthfully, because of where I wanted to be, I was putting in a lot more hours, but I didn't have a husband or a child at that time, so it was easier. And I had those hours to give. And I think, practically speaking, it's just a decision that you have to make for yourself. There will be times in your career that you're asked to give more hours, or you should demonstrate that you are willing to give more hours in order for maybe the longer term payoff. I think what is very important are those boundaries as far as whether you have a family or just your own mental and emotional health. There are some boundaries because when I first started my career, we were still using BlackBerries. And so you still had to sync your device to your computer. So it wasn't constant. And then I have noticed, because I deal with media, and I handle all of our news media for all of the divisions across the Chickasaw Nation. So fortunately, I have a lot of great teams that can manage a lot of that, but a lot will end up on my plate. So what I have been able to do for myself is think, okay, what are these boundaries going to be? What is this office hour time going to look like when I'm with my son? That's challenging. I will say when you have kids, that's going to be a little more difficult because they notice that you're on your phone and they want to ask, why are you on your phone when you're not talking to me? And so we've had lots of talks, and that is a challenge. But it's important to find what those boundaries are because our lives are so integrated with our work and our personal lives. And that's a great bonus, actually, because I have seen just in my career, before I would have to go to my office to do stuff. I had to be on site, and now I don't. So, there's a fine balance, but you have to figure out, okay, at some point I have to shut this down. I have to think for my own mental health and wellness. And so what I've ended up doing and have done better the last 5 years is I just kind of pick a time at night. This is the last time I'm going to look at my email. and I'll look at it again tomorrow when I wake up. I don't necessarily always work out, although I should. That's a good stress reliever, or walk. But my faith is important to me. So I spend a lot of time, in my case, with my Bible, with my church group, and so that really helps center me. And those are things that I find important. And frankly, there's really nothing like a good day spa either. So like having some of those little personal luxuries where you can take an hour to get a massage or go for a run, whatever. They feel frivolous, but they're not. They're going to keep you grounded, and they're going to keep your head. I think it's more important now than ever because we're just so constantly connected that you just have to find that little bit of time, whether it's for meditation or your Calm app or whatever, to take that little break. But no, the practical world is you're going to invest, unless you're an entrepreneur and you have your own company and you get to set your own hours, which is awesome. You probably will need to invest more time on the front end to end up with that longer term result where you have more control and more decision-making power in the long run. So the things will balance out, but there may be a bigger ask of you in the beginning. So.
Thank you, Robin. What kind of ethical dilemmas do you encounter at work, and is there a conflict that you run to, ethical decision-making when it comes to internal and external stakeholders or partners? Can you think of an example you could share with us? That's open to anybody.
I think ethical-wise, what is more internal is the HIPAA guidelines that we have to follow through health, and how a mother will call and you're talking to her about the health of her child, and then you realize her child's 45. And before you say anything, it's like, I have to speak to your son. I would like, you could be in the room with him, but I have to speak to your son. And just going through and explaining everything. Another example is through our education programs, when you get a call from a mother or father about their child missing a deadline, and you hear that the child's 21 and this is their senior year of college and they've missed that deadline, and you have to speak to that student. So those are more of what the type of ethical dilemmas that I deal with.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I think, the tribes are known for the casinos, so people think, cheating and stealing. So, you can easily relay that to a casino, but it applies anywhere. So you may feel like someone's cheating or stealing, on a game. But also, within any company, you have intellectual property or something like that. So that can be stolen as well. So I think you have to know, as we said earlier, procedures and policies and laws so that, you don't have to be faced with any of those ethical dilemmas yourself. But it happens, as we hear and see every day in the media.
Sheila, you mentioned earlier about keeping your network and burning bridges and relationships with people at work. So what does integrity mean to you? And I'd like to add to that a little bit. Integrity is a two-way street, and I think it's important for the students to understand when someone exhibits a lack of integrity, how that affects the people around them or their work relationships.
Oh, I thought he said you.
Okay, I can.
Go right ahead, anybody.
Consistency, honesty, respectfulness, good values that lead to good decision making, I think, is what integrity is. So, that they trust your process, your critical thinking skills, and that you will bring back, mindful and thoughtful decisions that are best for your business.
As far as integrity, as in the roles that we're in the spotlight all the time as far as our employees. They watch how your decision-making skills are and how you make those decisions and the process that you go through. And so it's being consistent, being fair, something that you can fall back on each time. This is the process I used. You gain a lot of respect in doing that and staying consistent with the process that you use in making your decisions.
Thank you.
I would say doing what you say you're going to do and be honest. And one way that you'll gain that trust of your leadership is when they can count on you. You asked what that looked like when we have team members that our other team members have determined they can't count on. It really can affect morale across the board. And you as a leader will face a tension in, okay, if I give this work to team member A, I know they'll get it done, but the rest of the team is going to see that this person doesn't have quite as much work now, simply because they weren't honoring what they said they were going to do. So you end up with bigger problems when you have team members who aren't contributors, who aren't can't be trusted on your team, because then it affects the morale of it can quickly spread through your entire department, and it will undermine a lot of what you've said that you believe in. If you believe in hard work and holding people accountable, yet you're not doing it, then it starts to make people question your integrity on something as simple as people not meeting a deadline. So there's a real tension between giving people grace, and there are different seasons you're going to walk through in life. So we try to be very open. I share that with my team often. There are different seasons, and you're going to be able to produce more in some seasons than others. Life and death is a practical thing, and we have people who walk through illness, and so we do have a lot of grace for those situations. But we have to confront those situations, because it can become very toxic to your entire team when you don't have someone who is telling the truth, who is living up to the values that you've said that you hold dear. So,
Thank you. A little more on the fun side now. What do you find rewarding about your job? Teresa, you want to start that?
And the most thing that I find rewarding is at the end of the day that I've made a difference in someone's life, that I've been able to help them. And it could be an array of different things. I know right now with the Choctaw Nation, we have a program, and it's called our LEAP program. And that's where we're going out and building homes for individuals. And to know that I've been a part of that from the beginning, and to sit and visit with a tribal member that has a wife and 3 small children, and this is their first home. And this is something that you can see the pride in them and the joy that they have, and to know that you've had a part of that.
That's great.
yes, definitely. I think we get to see, we're in a fortunate place where we get to see the evidence of the people's lives that are improved, and just the nature of working for a tribe. You're literally creating history every day. You're recording history. We're participating in history. And so in my role, we've been able to document that, and also shape and provide an accurate image of what people think of tribes. And that's been very rewarding to me, is we have seen things shift over just my career into valuing the contributions of the tribes, of seeing us more as partners, as members of their family, as their community. And so that's been extremely rewarding for me, is just to see that we've created and helped provide a true and accurate portrayal of how valuable the tribes are in Oklahoma.
Thank you. Sheila?
For me, I love to see growth. I'm excited when I see employees that have worked for me over the years, and they've evolved and grown into director roles, or roles that they really enjoy and that they aspire to be a part of. It's really exciting, and so I enjoy that aspect of my job. But also, working for a tribe, we just released our economic impact report, and it was over $3 billion, the economic impact that we had within our reservation. So, that brings jobs, that brings new infrastructure, internet access, water lines, roads, bridges, and definitely healthcare and education. So, and a lot of programs as well. So it's very exciting to know that what you're doing every day, and to see the impact that it has, to quantify it and understand it.
Thank you. How has your job changed in the last 3 years? How has your work changed?
COVID changed all of that for us. We've talked about, beginning was we expected our employees to be in the office 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. COVID came, and we closed down. It's like, the other tribes, everything closed down, but we still provided services. So we did a lot of Teams calls, WebEx calls. Our job duties became other duties and assignments is really what happened for us. And we were able to see that just being in the office did not mean that was the status quo anymore. We've been able to take care of our tribal members, provide those services while working from home since COVID has gone away or down. I don't want to say away, but it has gone down. We still have employees that do work from home, and they're as much as productive as our employees that are in the office. And so that's one thing that has really changed for
Okay,
us.
thank you. Everybody's experience similar to that?
Very much.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more question, and I think we have quite a few students in here. Some of them are enrolled tribal members, some of them are not, but they're all going to be looking for work soon. Are there opportunities with the tribes, and how do they find those?
Yes, I believe currently, we were just talking about that the other day, I believe we have about 1,200 vacancies within the Choctaw Nation. And so you just go to ChoctawNation.com and look for those. We have internships, we have externships, we have apprenticeships available. And so depending on the type of major that you're in, just reach out to our HR department to see what's available for you.
Ours would be very similar. We release, most of our jobs are promoted on our social media, but also at Chickasaw.net. We have, I don't know if we have 1,200 vacancies, but we have several hundred across all industries, and many of them are remote or hybrid, and they're in various locations. So we have lots of opportunities.
Yes, same here at Cherokee Nation and Cherokee Nation businesses. There are openings. I think various opportunities, or a lot of different opportunities depending on your interests. So, and there's internships, and full-time and part-time roles, and they're globally actually.
Okay, thank you, Shella. All right, 2 instructions for you all right now. 1, I don't want you to leave, but 2, I want you to thank these women for sharing their experience with us and with you. And I believe we have some awards.
Thank you, Dr. Tower. It is always a blessing to get to serve with you. You have incredible gifts of administration, and we are grateful for your leadership, as well as for the opportunity to collaborate with people that we truly care about. And Professor Lucas is certainly in that camp. So thank you for making this possible. We've got some gifts that might be better. I don't know if you want to maybe open one of them so they can see what's in, especially in that big box. It's a beautiful thing. We're going to take a quick photo, and then the Center for Sovereign Nations team is going to jet because we have a 4 p.m. meeting in our center, which reminds me, if you've never been, we would welcome you to pay us a visit. We're in what we call lucky number 105, Life Sciences East. So we're a home base for Native students on our campus as well as for their friends. Please come see us. And with that, I think we'll pop up, do a quick photo, and then we'll pop out.
I have no clue. Good question. Doing some like
Thanks for staying. You can leave now.